is Amanda, and if you don't know me, hi and welcome to my channel, Novelty Books. We're in a different spot than usual, and I look a little bit crazy because I just came out of the shower and my hair is still wet, but I needed to film this, so that's what we're gonna do. I've been feeling really stressed lately, and I am a little bit congested. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I feel really congested. I've been a little bit stressed about school and about how I'm gonna sort of juggle all these hobbies, and I realized like, oh, I'm gonna have to schedule a lot of what I'm doing, which kind of sucks, honestly. But I feel like things are sort of falling into place, so that's really good. Good for me. Good for me. Outside of that, I just finished Big Chicas Don't Cry, and it was really good. I gave it 4 stars, I think like a solid 4 stars, and that was my most recent read. And the next book I'm gonna read is Ruin and Rising so that I can finish the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I think it was called something else at one point, but I can't remember what. But yeah, I'm really excited to read that, and then I'm gonna continue into reading the books that I have on like my fall TBR, which I still need to post a video of. So wait on that. It's somewhere over here, and I'm really excited to share it with you because it has some books that I have never read that are like, I guess you could say like world renowned, or they're really popular in like the dark academic genre and like the gothic genre, so I'm very excited for that. So yeah, today I'm going to be going over the second half of my summer reading wrap-up, which I'm so excited to do because then that means that we get to get into the good fall books, and I'm so excited. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm gonna do this a little bit differently than I did my other video because I feel like that one was sort of all over the place and I had like a script for it and everything, and I just feel like that didn't work with me. I don't know, I feel like this video will have a little bit more personality than the other one. So yeah, the first book that we're going to start with is I'm Glad My Mom Died by 𝒟𝓃𝓾. So I at first didn't really want to talk about this book because it is super heavy, but I think the topics that Jeanette talks about, talking about like how we put mothers on pedestals, etc. It's important to sort of think about those questions and think about why we think that, and put into perspective situations of abuse. Fair warning, this book has a lot of triggering content, and just to keep things light, you can look up the content wording, but it is highly reviewed. It's an amazing book. I'm so happy for Jeanette for turning such an awful situation into such a oddly relatable story for so many people. I think she has a very powerful voice. So I didn't read this one, I played the audiobook. Its overall rating is a 4.49, which is crazy for a Goodreads review. I gave it 5 stars for obvious reasons. I think it was amazing, it was powerful. It's something that I had never read before. I really like autobiographies, and this one is definitely going down in the books as one to read. Obviously. This video is going to be a little bit different than the other videos. I feel like in the other ones I was very in-depth, but I really want you to form your own opinions about the book, unless I find the book so irritating that I just need to talk about the things that I didn't like about it. But I loved everything about this book. I love Jeanette's dry humor, and I just love that she is very honest with herself, and I think that's something that comes with a lot of practice when it comes to therapy, etc. And I'm just really proud of her. So yeah, y'all should definitely read this one. So the next book I read was Siege and Storm, and this was so good. I'm telling you, this was so good. The like twists and turns were really good, and I'm not a huge like fantasy person, I guess. Like, I just don't think that's where my heart lives, but this book was so good. I could not put it down. I loved the setting. My favorite character is Nikolai, obviously. I could go on and on about how this book is like better than Shadow and Bone, the first book, but I won't do that. So I did put this book as a 4-star book. I'm not really sure why I didn't put it as a 5-star. I don't really remember why at all. I'm gonna be honest. I think the ending of Siege and Storm was really amazing. I love that the sort of court dynamics take a bigger role in this one than in the first book. But yeah, I don't really know why I rated it 4 stars. I think just because like right after I'm Glad My Mom Died, like a fantasy book couldn't really hold a 5-star rating for me. I don't know, there's so many moments where I was just like, this is what epic fantasy is. Like, this is what I'm here for. You see so many more places than you did in the first book, which I really, really like. I like expanding the world. I like expanding the list of characters. I like that Alina couldn't really find anyone to trust. It was really interesting to see her go through a lot of the same situations that she went through in the first book, but higher stakes. It's just so much more fascinating. And kind of spoiler alert, Alina is like almost reaching like saint ability, and so she's kind of seen as a saint among like the peasants of Ravka, and so you kind of get to understand the dynamic of like, if a god were living on Earth, how would he be treated? How would she be treated? How would the regular people who worship this person treat them? Would they love them so much that they give themselves to them, or would they take away from this individual? And I think that was the most fascinating thing that was talked about in Siege and Storm, and I loved it. And so like Alina's new position really changes how her relationships exist, how her relationship with Mal is, how her relationship with Nikolai is, and status takes a huge role in this book. So I think that if 𝒟𝒏 𝓠𝓃 sort of made a book talking about these topics on their own sort of like essay style, I would definitely read that because that is super fascinating to me. But it also sort of remained lighthearted and still dark at the same time. I love the descriptions of war. I love that things aren't always perfect, that you don't get like good guys win and bad guys lose. I like how it's sort of like this chess game, and that you don't really know where things are going until they go there. And I think that's a very rare quality in a book, that you're kind of surprised by what happens. So yeah, props to 𝒟𝒏 𝓠𝓃. I friggin' love this book so much. I think it's so good. And can we talk about how beautiful this cover is? This cover is gorgeous. I love these colors, and like I also matched my little tabs to it as well. So but yeah, I can't wait to read the next book. It's been so long since I read this one. I think I finished it in, let's see, I finished this in July. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you know, obviously 𝒟𝒏 �𝓃 loves a good setup, and she's great at a good setup for the next book, so it made me like really, really excited to read the next one. Hopefully I think as well as that. Oh gosh, hopefully I think as well of that one as I did Siege and Storm. I'm sitting on like my legs right now and it hurts a lot. Also, the creaky chair makes a comeback. Ignore the fact that I look insane. The next book that I'm going to be talking about is The Right Thing to Do by 𝒟𝒏𝓠𝓃. This is a fanfiction, a Hermione fanfiction, of course. And it has a 4.30 rating? 4.30. Sorry, I don't know why I said 30. That's weird. I don't know how I felt about this one. I rated it a 3-star, which is usually like I could have done without reading this book, but it wasn't awfully written. I think I was really checked out when I was reading this one because I just wasn't entirely interested in the romance aspect. Like, in this fan fiction, Draco isn't necessarily trustworthy and the dynamic isn't necessarily healthy. So it's just like, I don't know. I guess I just found the world uninteresting too. I don't know, like compared to Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love, like this pales in comparison. But the reason why I was reading it is because I know that I wanted to read all the books in like the Rights and Wrongs series, which includes the auction, by the way. And judging from the first book, I don't know if I want to read the auction. That sounds really scary, and like, I don't know, there's a whole chapter where like Draco talks about the auction and it's like, it makes you really uncomfortable, and I just sort of didn't like him from then on. I was like, you shouldn't like him, that's really weird of you. Where's the love? Where's the funny tee? Where's like the relationship? I don't know. I've heard it's really good, but I don't know if I'm interested after all. I think I changed my mind. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about that fanfiction, so read it if you want, I guess, but just know that it's not necessarily fun to read. The next book that I read was The Family Across the Street by Nicole Thorpe. And this was a book that my grandma picked for our book club, and it's like a thriller? I would say it's like a pretty limited thriller. I wouldn't say it's low stakes because it's not, but like to me it felt like low stakes. I'm trying to see if I'm like, trying to judge if I'm heartless or not. It's really hard. So this book has a 3.93 rating on Goodreads overall. I rated it a 3-star book, and I said it was like 3.5 stars for me. I really loved the ending. The ending was like heartwarming to me, and there's some interesting sort of ideas hidden under the suspense of this book, such as like how people act in like a neighborhood, and should we really be involved in each other's lives that deeply? How do you know if someone's in danger or not? Or what do you do when you know someone who is in a dangerous situation? How to sort of trust your intuition versus like thinking practically in these situations, and how like the universe, I guess, is like a power in this book is kind of interesting to me. I guess in that same vein, it sort of felt like it was unfinished. I wouldn't say unfinished, but definitely not as polished as a lot of the other books I've read this year so far, and it really is more about like panic rather than suspense. It's sort of one of those stories where the characters are all connected, where you have to sort of figure out how they're connected. I don't know, I just didn't really care for it. It was interesting, but it did sort of annoy me at times. This book runs on for so long because it sort of has like a train of thought writing to it. You're entering the POV of different characters, and it's very much like their thoughts throughout the day as they interact with the family across the street. You're constantly asking yourself, why isn't someone doing something? Why this? Why that? You're constantly asking yourself questions, but that's sort of the point, is the lesson that, hey, if you see something, do something, which is a good lesson to learn. I will also say that the synopsis on the back doesn't really follow the narrative. Like, the topics or the questions that are sort of presented in the synopsis aren't covered in the book, and so that was a little bit confusing to me, and this is something that a lot of other people who've read it have pointed out. I know a lot of people did like it, so I don't know, maybe it just wasn't my cup of tea. I found the characters interesting, but rather the storyline to be slightly uninteresting. Or at least because of the pacing, it felt a bit sluggish. But I liked it. I thought it was good. So I gave it 3 stars, or 3.5 stars, especially because I really liked the ending. This is almost like slow burn suspense, really. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would go ahead and pick this up. And the book that I just finished is Big Chicas Don't Cry by Annette Chavez Macias. This one has a Goodreads rating of 4.23, and I rated it a solid 4 stars. I love the representation in this book. It felt like I was sort of entering a world in which my family was just bigger. So I am Hispanic, surprise surprise, and it's Hispanic Heritage Month when I'm posting this, so you guys better read this book or you hate Hispanics. It's about a Mexican-American family, specifically centers on the story of 4 cousins as they grow up and sort of separate from each other, and how they find the importance of family when their abuelita dies. And it did make me cry. It did make me cry, so good job, book. I don't really like crying over books, but I found this one was like, it talks a lot about like family matriarchs and the importance of family, and how, like, although you may move away from your family, how it's important to check in on the people that you love and offer them support and offer them guidance no matter where you are. And I feel like that's such a prevalent topic for anyone. This was another book club pick by my grandma, and it's fairly long, but I really enjoyed this. It's described as domestic fiction, which, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about that term. I feel like it's so, I really loved how much heart was in this book. It also has romantic subplots, which were really good. The only critique I have about this book is that things sort of tend to happen. Things just sort of happen to the characters, and I feel like it would have been a lot better if the characters were taking on more control of the narrative, almost. With that being said, that's not a huge issue for me. I don't really care. So while it's sort of like something that I'm aware of, it's not something that bothers me necessarily. So I loved this book, and y'all should read it for Hispanic Heritage Month. It was a great read, and it really touched my heart and my soul, and kind of knew exactly what I needed to hear at the time. So great pick, Grammy. I love this one. So that is the end of our video. I'm so excited to put this one out because y'all know I'm just so obsessed with this fall TBR video. Like, I need it. I need it to bring in the season, because I haven't read any of my fall books yet, because I'm sort of saving it for later, like an acorn. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, and I hope to see you in the next video soon. Goodbye!